So, just when we think college football can't get any more eventful, as the season is winding down, here comes the transfer portal, here comes recruiting, and overall, here comes Deion Sanders. What a week it has been. I'm joined today by Drew England. Drew, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's Friday, getting ready for a good weekend. A lot of exciting stuff happening. Like you just said, transfer portal, all that good stuff, and Army Navy this weekend. One of my favorite games. So excited about all that. So yeah, just always great to jump on and talk college football.
Yeah, man, appreciate you being here. And one of the big things we need to talk about, so much happening in the transfer portal, so much happening in recruiting. Oklahoma having a big weekend this weekend in terms of visitors. Alabama, huge weekend in terms of visitors. Colorado, massive play right there. We're going to jump into them all. I'd like to kind of start with Oklahoma because when we were back before the cameras started rolling, I was kind of picking your brain because I was so busy today, man, keeping up with all the Colorado stuff, all the Florida noise with Okunlola and all that. Kind of missed out on Oklahoma's visitation plans for this weekend. So talk to us a little bit about that because there are some really big name guys visiting the Sooners.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a good good weekend for OU. Got some guys coming in that I mean I'm sure a lot of people are interested in everything like that. But some really solid names coming in this weekend. Really looking forward to the stories, obviously that we have coming out. But a couple key names that are coming that'll be big. I think for us to to land and guys that could potentially jump right in and help us on both sides of the ball. So really excited to hear about some names. I got a few confirmed, few not really sure about, but hearing a lot of good things though. So
Yeah, and I know one of the names that we've talked about a lot, McCullough, transfer from
yeah.
Indiana, super talented kid. Guys in the chat, if y'all aren't super familiar with this kid, hop on YouTube after the stream is done. Search up Dasan McCullough, 6'5", and can genuinely play multiple different positions. Where do you want him on your defense? Oklahoma has him coming on a visit, and while that in and of itself is key, he's got a younger brother. Class of 2023, four-star blue chip. That right there is something we have got to watch. Oklahoma needs the talent. Brent Venables had to deal with a massive roster overhaul. Drew, I can't remember the percentage off the top of my head. What was it that he had to deal with? I mean, it was significant in terms of new players.
Oh,
Do you
last
remember?
year
Yeah.
we had I think 60% of our roster was new guys that had never played in an OU jersey, and the rest of them were young guys that had never stepped on the field. So um, I think a lot of people overlook that, and again, it's not an excuse for a lot of it is, but in a way, it is something that you really have to fight. Being a new head coach, everything like that, the cupboard was not full. Let's just say when Lincoln Riley left, and the way Venables and his staff jumped right in, saved a top 10 recruiting class. First of all, credit to Bob Stoops. I don't think he gets enough credit for bringing that bridge, if you will, and keeping a lot of those guys who didn't leave from leaving. And then when Venables and his staff came in, we were able to get a few guys from the transfer portal. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel, probably the biggest name we were able to get from the portal. Needed a quarterback with some experience. Was able to get that, and then a few guys that were able to play and things like that. And I think the biggest difference between then and now is that we're settled in. We're not rushing around to get things in place, and we have a better understanding after seeing guys in your scheme go through 1 year. You're going to have an off season to where you can really do your due diligence, find guys that are going to fit your scheme, especially in the transfer portal, recruiting wise, everything like that. It's really shaping up to be a great off season for Oklahoma, and a lot of good things to come. Next year will be obviously still a building year for us. I expect us to be a little bit better. Um, two big key pieces I think we were looking at. Obviously, defensive line is a big concern for not concern. I won't say concern, but a big piece to the puzzle next year. Getting some veteran guys in there, some guys from the portal, and really hitting on some really good 23 talent, and then the wide receiver room, I think, are two big things that I think we need to hit on. Maybe the back end of our secondary as well, but I think Venables and the staff really have focused in and honed in on that piece. I think um, is huge, because now having a off season of your own, so to speak, where you can breathe and you're not, flying by the seat of your pants, if you will. It's going to be a lot better for us this off season, as opposed to all the chaos that happened last year.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes it very difficult, when Brent Venables came in here, he was kind of shooting blind, right? Whenever
Yep.
he was going in the portal, getting guys, he was watching their film and saying, okay, well, I'm fairly certain you're going to fit into this, but you don't know. You really don't know how everything is going to gel. And Drew, you and I have talked about this in the group chat time and time again. That Brent Venables defensive scheme, it's not easy to just walk into. It requires a lot of gelling. It's somewhat it's not similar to the Alabama scheme, but it's similar in the sense of, if one person messes up, oh boy, the whole thing could look like the biggest busted play, the biggest ugly play you've ever seen. But the point of it is when everything's working as a well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
man, it's tough. It is tough. Now, Prime Time asks, can we consider Farouk as a true number one heading into next season? I'm going to take this first, Drew, and I'll pass it to you because I'm interested in that. Without a shadow of a doubt, Prime Time, and here's why. Prime Time, I don't know how much NFL you watch. I need to get better. I was a huge NFL fan, but when I started really doing this, there's so much college football. But by the time Sunday comes, I'm still catching up with all the stuff that happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
Farouk reminds me a lot of Deebo Samuel, and
Yeah.
Travis Davidson is the one who originally made that comparison, where he and I were on the Indy Sooner show. And I loved it. And I've never been able to get it out of my mind ever since. The way Oklahoma uses him. I mean, think about the way Oklahoma, they used him as a weapon this year. Lebby obviously loves that young kid. I'm very excited for OU fans. Drew, I'm going to give you the floor on the future of Farouk.
We saw him take a giant step forward this year. He was one of our big playmakers, big key guys on offense this year. The way that not only used him just as a standard wide receiver, but the way we motioned him, the way we used him in the backfield, the way he even took a couple direct snaps, stuff like that. You can use him in so many different packages. Very versatile. He returns some kicks as well. He's, again, with that year of experience, especially in Lebby's system, makes him even more potent for next year. And the big question is going to be, will Marvin Mims return? That's going to be a huge piece to this as well. But you can certainly still be a, quote, number one guy, even with a guy like that on the other side. But I think that his role continues to get more valuable as time goes by, and the way he's been able to stay on the field, stay healthy, be a huge cog in that offensive wheel has been good. So, whether or not Marvin decides to return this year, I think Farouk still has a big role to play once again in Lebby's offense.
Yeah, I think he's going to be huge. Another year in Lebby's offense, another year with Dylan Gabriel. And Lebby, I mean, if we take what we saw at Ole Miss, if we take what we saw at UCF and hold it constant, I think you have to be very excited for what Farouk could do next year, because I think he's going to use him to terrorize defenses. Now, Nick Saban Jr. wanted to give you talk about this right here, because this is interesting. He asked, what is the most interesting flip that you think is going to happen? I'm going to give you 3 names right now. 3 names. First and foremost, Kermani McClain. Now, it's not that I think that a flip is going to happen, but Alabama wants this kid, and they want him bad, and they're not alone. They're pushing very hard. There's a whole will he, won't he with a visit this weekend. Last time I checked, he was supposed to. Then news came out that he had an ACT on Saturday. I don't know that he's going to go, but here's what we do know. Alabama is pushing very hard to get the last visit. It came down to the wire, and even some people in Miami circles thought he would head to Alabama before he committed to Miami. I would watch that closely. Name number 2. also a defensive back, Peyton Bowen. I'll let Drew talk more about this one. So I'm going to leave Peyton Bowen at Peyton Bowen. I'll let him take that. Number 3, Caden Proctor. 2 teams to watch out for Caden Proctor. He's committed to Iowa. Colorado, man, if Deion and Prime could get him, guys, wow.
If a guy's on Colorado's radar, that's for anybody across the country. You're on upset alert potentially there with that one.
And 2, Bama and them are trying to get a visit. I want don't get me wrong, I want Caden Proctor to go to Alabama, right? That kid, I do think he's the number one. Yeah, I think he's the number one offensive lineman this year in a class where I personally like a lot of the offensive linemen. I mean, I really like this offensive line class. So those are my 3. Drew, I'm going to pass it to you, let you talk about some that you would watch. But first, I wanted you to start with Peyton Bowen because I think you could probably say why I believe he's going to flip.
Hummus, just to answer your question, Deebo Samuel went to South Carolina. So there's that. I just saw that and wanted to answer that real quick. Come on, Ty. Start times are important.
Yeah, my fault, man. I might have. That's
mad confusing. Come on. No, Peyton Bowen. That's obviously Sooner fans. If you're a Sooner fan, even if you're a Notre Dame fan, their boards are blowing up, everything like that. Huge piece, man. I mean, he's a guy that everybody is watching. Elite safety, big talent, big physical kid. He can run from sideline to sideline. He can close on the ball. He's got great football IQ, great instincts. He is a true 5-star player. I mean, size, speed, agility, all the tools that you look for. And I think he has a really good shot at flipping and becoming a Sooner. I think if you guys follow the message boards, anything like that, you kind of see, why, if you just read the tea leaves, come on, dude. If you just read the tea leaves on that one, there's a good chance that he does become an Oklahoma Sooner. I know there's some crystal balls in, there's some different things that are happening there with Peyton Bowen, but I'm pretty confident that he'll be a Sooner at the end of the day when signing day rolls around. So couple other guys that could potentially flip. Obviously David Hicks is one that everybody wants to talk about. Still committed to A&M. Thanks, Matt. Could flip to OU. His recruitment is kind of right now just, at the mercy of him and Hayes Fawcett. So probably the only 2 people that really know, what's going on with David Hicks. So, but that's one that I'm watching. If we could get those 2 guys in the boat, that's huge for defensive pieces. But other than that, obviously, that's kind of all I really have. You hit on some really good ones that were potentials, but right now I'm kind of looking at the transfer portal and not so much like 23 kids, but because the transfer portal is so hot right now that you could instantly, strike gold with a lot of these guys. So few names that I'm watching that I would really love to see at OU. Ty Harris, the wide receiver at La Tech.
I thought he was about to say Ty Hayes. I was about to be like, well,
you're not too far away. A couple hours, not too bad. Chris can come pick you up.
I don't think y'all want to waste a scholarship on me, though. I don't think that's the move.
Behind the scenes. But yeah, some other guys that would be big for us. A couple people said Stogner returning. That's cool.
That's cool.
I'm excited about that.
Now, before we go any further, Drew, if you could, I don't know the details as well. Chris, I'm going to have you piggyback here. Stogner had a really serious infection that put his career into question, and he fought back through that. And I think that it's a story that needs to be known, right? That's why whenever I did the video on him coming back, I had a whole little bit. It wasn't nearly long enough, but it was like, hey, this guy is super inspirational. Check out his story. I want y'all to kind of dive into that because that is awesome. Like, that's the kind of stuff that people need, because that's what college football is about, working through this adversity. I mean, you just don't write stories like that. So I want y'all to talk about that a little bit as well.
Chris, I'll let you go.
I was going to let you go first, Drew.
You're the new man in the room.
All the info. What more can I say? No, I mean, I'll jump in. It's a great story. I'm glad to see him back. It definitely helps us out tremendously to our room.
Yeah.
Ty, go back to what I said last time we were on here. Brayden Willis is a more athletic tight end, but he's a better, more traditional tight end as far as what we need in this system, I think, to kind of help stretch the field a little bit more. But I mean, it was just one of those things where you could obviously see it affected him in such a great way that his last season at OU prior to transferring to South Carolina, because you were just like, man, Stogner doesn't look the same. Something's different about it or whatnot. But he battled back and he got back. But you didn't see him an awful lot outside of what was the touchdown that I think was it. He caught a touchdown from. Was his last touchdown from Caleb Williams or was it from Rattler?
I think it was Williams.
It was in the Texas Tech game. It was in the Texas Tech game. It was like the last time you saw Stogner out there. And I think he caught one in the back.
It was Rattler.
Because
he didn't play last year.
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't honestly.
I thought he had a touchdown in Bedlam.
I could have swore that he had a touchdown against Texas Tech. I'd have to go back and watch the game.
Yeah, it's been.
I
know that he had a bad staph infection.
Yeah.
And it almost ended his career. And almost it was pretty close for him, to close to not walking again. They almost it was like amputation sort of kind of thing. It was really, really rough
bad
for a little bit. And so to even be able to get back to normal life stuff is really cool. But for him to be able to fight through, and then he had knee injuries, stuff like that. But yeah, a healthy Stogner gives us a huge added bonus, veteran presence. Understands football, smart guy, can help that room continue to develop and mature, and everything like that. And I think the biggest reason why he left and didn't it was, because I think Lincoln Riley, everything like that too. But it'll be fun to have him back again. And not hard to do edits when a guy like that returns to OU, because you really can just throw his picture back up there. So
I think the great thing about the story is just what the payoff could potentially be in this system, because especially with Levy with his love for those heavy personnel sets, it really helps him and it benefits him a lot, because it starts to put a lot more things on film than just his pass catching ability. He's able to go out there and show that he can block, that he can be a part, basically turn into an O-lineman. He can do those different things. But it's just a lot more things that he can show out there. And I think this offense really suits him if he comes in and gets a keen understanding of it and what the concepts are and where his, he's supposed to be at. So it should be really interesting. And then I think that with the possible emergence of a guy like Caden Helms, or if you go get a more established guy that at the tight end position that could possibly stretch the field somewhat, you don't ever know. Llewellyn could be that guy too, possibly, if he, with a couple of changes or whatnot. But Caden Helms is the guy that you're looking at right now. That's somebody else that if he's playing well, Stogner could be a beneficiary of that, or vice versa. So, yeah.
Ty, you were right. He did catch a touchdown pass in Bedlam in 21. So you win the prize. We don't know. We'll be in touch with your people to get you that prize.
Y'all don't know how many times I rewatched y'all's season last year. It was a little bit y'all's Alabama's.
He had 3 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Now this rah to OU? That'd be a huge win for the Oklahoma Sooners.
Hey,
that'd be
I'm
huge.
Here for it.
Rah Thomas out of Mississippi State, huge win. Now, speaking of Mississippi State, guys, taking a little bit of pause on Oklahoma, did y'all see what that running back said when he left?
He basically was like, hey, Leach, since you don't want me, peace out, dude.
Let me pull this up.
And said it in the edit. Put him by name. Called that man out by name. Said, hey, Coach Leach, deuces, bud.
Yeah, and I'll pull this up right now.
I think it was the first time in edit history that he straight up. Normally, you say, "Hey, thank my coaches, teammates, all that." He said, "Let me tell you what."
So here we go, guys. Here's what he said. I'm going to start halfway through. He says, "Together, you guys have helped me build my character and skills tremendously. And with that being said, since I am not very tough and Leach is glad I am leaving, I will be entering my name into the transfer portal with the hopes of finding a more fit playing environment for me. Thank you."
The first thing that came to mind when that happened was some of the problems that Leach ran in on his way out of Texas Tech anyways.
My first thought that came to my mind is that he's a running back playing in the Mike Leach system. That obviously isn't going to work. That was my first. I was like,
well, you think about some guys over the tenure that Mike Leach had. He's had some pretty decent running backs, but yes, like you said, so hard. Like I think of a guy like Baron Batch at Texas Tech when he was down there. Great running back. If he would have been in any other system, dude was explosive, stuff like that. And so, yes, very hard to play in a system, Mike Leach system, as a true running back. Now if you're a versatile guy, you're going to get the ball and thrown to you a lot, everything like that. But as a true lineup, hand you the ball type of guy, it's tough. It's
slim
tough.
pickings out there. It is slim pickings out there. Now, David in here, he says, Coach Sanders will bring another chip to Colorado. Look, I'm not. That's going to be a huge turnaround. But David, let's be 100% honest here, man. The hype he has generated so far, palpable, and it is going to be an incredible ride to watch. Coach Prime has got it figured out right now, and the nation is having to watch. They have absolutely taken notice. He backs it up by saying I think his son will win that big trophy next year. And David, that young man put up huge numbers. And we can have whoever come in here and say, oh, he did it at Jackson State. His offensive line wasn't very good. They gave him 21 sacks.
Well, not only that, but
he's a high chip 4-star too.
Yeah, at Trinity. I mean, he did that down there in the DFW area. He put up numbers.
So I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman, but I don't think that statement is as wild as some people would think it is.
And I'll be quite frank with you. Now here's an interesting piece to this. If you're Deion, if you're Deion, you have an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. Obviously, you want your son to be the star. You want that, rightfully so, right? Kent State head ball coach is your offensive coordinator. Guess who's in the portal?
Kent State.
His quarterback that he was just coaching.
Yep.
So, do you try to spice that room up and go get that kid and say, hey, he already knows my system. I'll give Shedeur every shot, but it's one of those things where you kind of have to ask yourself what's best for the team, because at the end of the day, Colorado, if Shedeur is the guy there, Colorado is going to go as far as he goes. So will we see him have to go through a year at this, I guess, at the Power 5 level, before we can actually, crown them as undoubtedly they're back, right?
Colorado. Oh, no doubt. That's why right now we're speaking simply to hype and talent acquisition. That's where, as far as being able to turn it around, do I think he's going to make a massive impact? Yeah, they were 1-11, right? I think he will, but I don't know how much of an impact. It is going to be so much fun to watch, though. I know I'm captivated. Now, Drew, Chris, we got a lot of questions in here about Marcus Major.
Yeah.
I need to hear from y'all about Marcus Major, his future, y'all's thoughts on the Oklahoma running back room, and then we're going to move to my Crimson Tide, who are also playing host to a loaded weekend this weekend.
You want to go first, Drew?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, man, Marcus Majors, I like Marcus Majors, but especially in this bowl game, I want to see more Sawchuk and I want to see more Barnes, obviously. I kind of am ready to go younger, kind of see what that looks like. You got Smothers coming in. You got the Caleb Hicks kid coming in. You got some other kids that you still have your eyes on. You never know. Obviously, we got some
Javante Barnes.
No, well, yeah, I said Barnes, Sawchuk, and then
the room is still going to be loaded with talent. Yeah. So,
and that's the whole thing is you've seen flashes from Marcus Majors as being like he could be the one, or he could be a solid two, or he could just be in a rotation and be a solid contributor. You just haven't seen him be consistent with it because of injuries. So that's kind of the problem.
Well, injuries, and then his academics kind of derailed him last year. Didn't help him out at all. But yeah,
And I think the offense was just so suited for Eric Gray this year.
Yeah, I mean, and then you had Kennedy Brooks and Eric Gray last year. Would have been hard for him to get on the field as well, but certainly, you're fighting an uphill battle, like what Chris said, with injuries, academics, some other stuff like that. But another guy to look at too is Tyree Walker. Could be a good piece for us next year going in. He still has one more year, but yeah, these young guys, look for them to emerge, and man, hopefully, Marcus, gets it on track. Love him, love what he does. I love that he kind of took a step back and reevaluated. He said, I was a little childish and had to grow up a little bit, and took some ownership of something. Hardworking kid. A lot of good things said about him this year. Yeah, would love to see him try to get in there and get some more carries and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be hard now with a lot of this young talent that Chris was talking about. Especially with Gavin Sawchuk coming in full fold this year. Man, the kid can fly. He can,
and
move.
He fits the offense.
And he fits the offense so well. He's going to be another versatile Eric Gray type of guy, where you can catch the ball out of the backfield, do some things like that. Now, I'm not saying he's Eric Gray, okay, guys. So don't. He could be that type of player, versatile guy. And then you got Dalen Smothers, like you said, some other guys. So it's going to be a competitive room this going into next year. And obviously with the bowl, these practices and everything like that are going to be key for a lot of these guys. And you'll see some of those guys in the bowl game, like Javonte Barnes. He's probably going to start the game because, Eric Gray, stuff like that. So you're going to see a lot of these guys and get a glimpse of what to expect coming into the summer and spring of next year.
With that zone gap scheme and all the rest and all the things that Levy wants to do, I think the next step that you need Marcus Majors to take, if you're going to be sold on him, is can he win that one-on-one battle? Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about just running downhill and running over a guy. I'm talking about making a guy miss and being able to turn that upfield for at least 10 to 20 yards after the fact, right? Yep. Because that's what Levy's wanting to do. I mean, obviously we saw it. Levy wants to isolate that one linebacker or whoever, whether it's a twist or whatever.
Take advantage of the one-on-ones. Yep.
Take advantage of those one-on-ones.
And then pass pro too is another thing that I want to see some of these linebackers or some of these running backs, because they're younger. Some of these guys take that step up too, because they're going to be asked to, step up in pass protection and block and everything like that too. So it's going to be big, not only for Marcus, but a lot of these young guys you really haven't seen a lot of on the field that are going to try to emerge as that number one running back next year.
And if he's healthy, I mean, that's a different story. I think that you can see, because that's what really kind of put a damper on him, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. But he's somebody that you want to see him stay, but don't be surprised if early January or after the spring game, he may be a name that jumps into the portal.
Certainly has the talent. Absolutely. No question about it. He just, hope all the best, whatever he decides moving forward, but would always love to have him stay at OU for sure.
Yeah. And it's so funny. Before we jump into Alabama recruiting, last little note I'll say, Drew, you won't believe how many people I had to fight with tooth and nail this season about Eric Gray. Every time I'd say, like, man, Eric Gray's having a big game, I'd go down to the comments and they'd be like, oh, you just wait. It's coming. Like, he's not. And I was like, man, the kid is so talented. The kid fits this offense like a glove.
My only problem with Eric Gray, I'll say this right here, is sometimes he danced a little bit too much. I was just like, just hit the hole.
Fair.
Hit
fair.
the hole.
That's fair. No doubt about that. That's fair. Now, transitioning.
But fair.
Yeah. Transitioning to Alabama recruiting, Bama is having a huge weekend. 5 stars set to be in attendance, and I mean must land 5 stars. 5-star defensive lineman James Smith, 5-star linebacker Quay Rusaw, 5-star defensive back Desmond Ricks, 5-star athlete / inside linebacker Carter Then we have some transfer portal guys. Justin Jefferson, the number 2 linebacker in JUCO ranks, is also set to be in attendance. And like I said, I'm going to be very frank here. James Smith is about as close to a must-land prospect for Alabama as there's been in quite some time. And I'm going to give you 2 prospects for Alabama that I think priority cannot be understated. One, it is keep Caleb Downs season. Keep Caleb Downs season. I don't know if y'all saw the rankings update. He's number 6 in the nation now.
Yeah.
I have been screaming for so long that this kid is a top 10. I think he's a top 5 player. And I think the safety and DB class this year is insane. You look at your top 2 safeties, and it's Peyton Bowen and Caleb Downs. Think about that. In the same class, those 2 are your top 2. Insane. And I mean, you even look at the guys outside of that insane class. So Caleb Downs is a must to maintain. I mean, the secondary for Alabama, especially at that safety position, was a little bit of a weak point. The cornerback talent is going to maintain because, you still have Kool-Aid there. Jaleel Hurley, 5-star defensive back, currently committed to Alabama. And Alabama's working real hard to flip Kermani Money McLean. We're going to see how that goes. But Caleb Downs is a must in this class. Also, we're going to be pairing him with Tony Mitchell, who was a 5-star, I still think is a 5-star, originally rated as a 5-star cornerback, now rated as a 5-star safety. So those 2 right there, huge. But James Smith, guys, we need that big, nasty presence from the interior.
Are those guys I guess what we're kind of accustomed to on the back end of the defense as far as like the Patrick Surtain types?
Downs is definitely that type.
Downs is one of the most.
Yep.
Yeah, Downs, man. Drew, you and I were just having this conversation. I don't want to throw out a comparison because of the lofty expectations.
No, I mean, listen. When we compare guys, it's what type of potential do we see these guys, could have? Not, hey, this guy's going to be exactly like, this guy.
From a style perspective, Chris.
Yeah.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
I see Minka all over again. And if Bama can get Minka back, oh my God.
You know what? I'll go to this right here. As far as skills positions wide receivers and corners, or as far as your safeties, I think that's what you guys. I think that's kind of the problem you and Jance have had. You just haven't. You talked around it, but you haven't just said it for what it is. You guys are used to having those dogs back there, those guys that are just like elite recruits, top talent. Not to say that these kids that you guys recruit are not top.
Do you want to know why I haven't, Chris?
Yeah.
Because I'm stuck in a rock and a hard place, bro. I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know whether it's the guys we have on our roster or the positions they're being asked to be put in. Because half the time I'm looking at the wide receiver like routes, right? And because we'll sometimes have those days where we'll watch the all 22 in here, and I'll pause so I can see every route on the field, and everybody we'll have 2 routes, 2 wide receivers on the left side, 2 wide receivers on the right side. They're both within 5 yards of each other, and so I'm thinking, okay, well that has to someone messed up. But then no, 4 plays later, it's the exact same concept, and I'm sitting here like, why is everyone so bunched? Go ahead, Drew.
Hey, Travis, I think knows something that we all don't know. What?
He says the best thing Alabama did was fire Bill O'Brien. Travis, don't.
Did they do it? Did they pull the trigger?
Here's the thing: Bob is only on a 2-year contract, and that expires after the bowl game. That's when his contract is done.
What about Pete Golding? When's his contract? See, I got my big spoon. Stirring the pot, Chris.
When I saw that 146, I almost died.
And that's a great thing because we always talk about coaching with you guys, but I still think that you haven't seen that guy that you're like,
We certainly haven't.
yeah,
You're not wrong.
that's that guy. Yeah.
You're not wrong. The problem is, though, is I don't know what level to assign blame. I
Yeah.
don't know whether the answer is, hey, it's 70%. Like, how can these guys get separation when there's 5 defensive backs around them because you have all your wide receivers in one spot? Or if it's they're not getting separation because they're just not those dudes.
Ty, the problem is your head coach. You need to fire your head coach. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's terrible.
Easy. Even trolling. We fight for Nick Saban around here. 5-star cheating. No. Travis, don't tease me like this, man.
Yeah, don't get Ty's blood pressure up this time of night. Okay.
Y'all want to know blood pressure being up? When I watch Alabama football with my fiance, she genuinely sits there next to me and rubs my back and goes, "It's okay. It's
that's
okay."
Why that's why I need to find somebody too.
I'm sitting there just like in awe of half the crap that's happened this year. But recruiting weekend, big. Quay Russaw, James Smith, Caleb Downs. That's the mission. Also, a lot of talk. Keon Keeley, 5-star edge. If he goes to Alabama, guys, is it time to start saying Alabama's edge you? Think about this. I just want you to think about the talent they have here. And I know if anybody in the chat wants to say Ohio State, I'm not going to argue with that one. Or there's a lot of great answers. But look at this. You have Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell, Drew Sanders was in that room. And then you get Jeremiah Alexander.
You can't claim him. You can't claim him, Ty.
Oh, I'm just talking about being able to acquire.
Jalen Hurts.
That's fair.
Just kidding.
Jameer Alexander and then Jahad Campbell. Plus, if they sign Keon Keeley, all those guys I just gave you are 5-stars. That is insane. The edge position at Alabama. There's a reason why they're running a 2-4-6 instead of a 4. We always say a 2-4-5 instead of a 4-2-5.
It's hard to argue with the 2 Bosa brothers and Chase Young.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, that's hard to battle there. Plus, they've had, but when you get that kind of talent at both those schools, it's hard to beat.
And that's why I said, if anybody says Ohio State, you're not going to hear a peep out of me.
Argument that you could really make.
You're not going to hear a peep out of me.
You're talking about interior nose 3 techniques that, have linebackers, stuff like that. But yeah, when you're talking about edge guys, those 2, Alabama and Ohio State, you've got LSU's had a few, stuff like that. But you're talking elite guys. You're talking those 2, Bama and Ohio State for sure.
He traded Deontay Hopkins for half a ham sandwich and David Johnson. And is David Johnson even still in the NFL?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
There we go. And he was a great player too.
Hey,
but point being,
the guy that I wish would go, Cliff Kingsbury needs to go back to college, and we need to get Sean Payton in there at Arizona. That's on my Christmas list. So,
well, speaking of Christmas, we need to talk about some transfer portal. We'll start with Alabama. Hello from Ireland. That's awesome, Triple T. Where are you from in Ireland? I got to go to Ireland when I graduated high school with my dad because he judged a horse show over there. And the people in Ireland told him that they would buy my plane ticket if they could use me as cheap labor to clean all the horse stalls and everything. And I said, absolutely.
Primetime is right. He does play for the Saints. I forgot about that.
Awesome. Good. He's a very talented player. My
fun
point,
fact, guys, I've never been out of the country.
Really?
Ever.
Really? No. That trip I got to go to England and Ireland because there were 2 horse shows and I worked them both, and that was the deal. Is the guy was like, "Hey, if you just come and clean the stalls, like I'll buy your plane ticket." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I had a great time, man. Glad you're tuning in, Triple D. Glad you're here with us. Primetime, thank you for looking that up, man. He is a great player, and in no way, shape, or form is that a shot at David Johnson. My point in saying he traded him for David Johnson was coming off of a major knee injury, and Deontay Hopkins was Hopkins, right? Like on top of the world in the NFL. It just wild. Absolutely wild. But transfer portal talk, Alabama going to be looking at some transfer portal guys, mainly tight end. That's the huge need right now. Where else they'll go, we'll see. But tight end is a huge
I do
need.
have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Quarterback next year for Alabama.
Depends
Well,
on
you got
offensive
30 of
coordinator.
them. You got 30 of them.
Yeah,
We do
you got.
have a lot of them.
So what do you see? First of all, if you don't bring Bill O'Brien back, where do you go in that direction? And then how does that set up your quarterback and offense there?
So I have a offensive coordinator I'd love to hire. I don't think it's realistic. But if Garrett Riley feels like coming down to Tuscaloosa, come on down. Come on down.
Ty. I'm going to tell you from personal experience, okay? The Riley system is great.
They break your heart.
It'll break your heart, Ty. It'll break. I know that you're looking. It probably it's way more competent than what you have right now.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you now, it will bite you in your ass whenever you least
What
expect.
about like Dan Mullen?
I would love a Dan Mullen. Now, here's my only concern about Dan Mullen. It has nothing to do with coaching because the man offensively. Do y'all want to talk about what he did with Emory Jones that last year at Florida?
No.
I don't think he's ever gotten, like, offensively, Dan Mullen, real smart guy. I don't think going on ESPN at the very end of your season and saying, hey, there's a 5-star kid in the state of Florida and he's down to you in one other program. How's that recruiting battle go? When he looks at the camera and says, we worry about recruiting when the season is over, that's not going to fly with Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa. Now, that being said, I would love Dan Mullen. That is a great one. Great one. Travis, my father was into quarter horses, reining horses. He was big in the reining horse world. So, yeah, I grew up around quarter horses, reining horses.
Money. Too much money for me to.
Too much money for the people that have it, but for the people that grew up in it, you just live day to day, man. It is, it's awesome, but I'm a felon. No, I am not.
Oh, hey.
Erroneous on all counts.
Chris can vouch for that. He's a lawyer, so
yeah.
Hey, we got our legal representation right here. Okay,
I can go. I'll take over everything for you for a while, then you can come back.
No, I'm gonna pull. God, who was the last person that did it and represented themselves in court? And it was just a train wreck.
I know Aaron Hernandez tried it.
Did y'all know Jared from Subway tried it?
Oh gosh.
And it was bad. It was.
Yes.
There's
double, triple D. Yeah, I think Ty was going to get to this eventually. We were talking about it before we jumped on, man. That's very, very interesting to me.
Triple D, this is a little bit wild. I was actually going to go to law school. Cornell was one of my picks, and my father actually graduated from Cornell University. And crazy enough, while he was at Cornell, guess who he had a bunch of classes with? Ed Marinaro. No, Ed Marinaro, the running back for Cornell that ended up in the Heisman finalist, played for the Minnesota Vikings, and was the head coach on Blue Mountain State.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Ed Marinaro. Yeah, so I love Cornell, Triple D. I love Ithaca. Moving to upstate New York, I mean, that's where all my family is, really. It's just me here in Texas. But I love that area. Love it. Awesome. But let's talk some Bobby Petrino, because you opened up that can of worms. Guys, what are we thinking about this? Jimbo Fisher runs an antiquated offense. One thing we do know, Bobby Petrino can coach some offense, but he is not without his baggage. The question I have for everybody in chat, I have a question for both of you. Is it worth it? There's so many distractions at Texas A&M right now. At what point are there too many Chiefs in the circle? Chris, I'll start with you.
It's a good hire, but I mean,
it's strange.
It definitely is strange. If that's where they go.
It's good, but strange.
I don't know. I'll say this right here.
Right?
We've only seen Bobby Petrino be successful with. He needs like a legit dual threat quarterback, and you don't have any of that on your roster right now.
Well, you could argue that every quarterback that he's coached, he has developed into a really good guy that fits. He can use that guy and tailor his offense to that guy. Like whether you see him at Ryan Mallett at Arkansas, big, strong, throws the ball really well, couldn't run, took him forever to get going. But then you had a guy like Lamar Jackson, stuff like that.
It's because that's the whole thing. I've seen the best of both worlds, but I've seen his offense to his fullest of his capabilities. So my only problem is I get Texas A&M is going to be able to pay everybody to come there at some point and surround that quarterback with talent. The Weigman kid or whatnot, I still have hope for him. Yep. Now that you're rid of Haynes King and Max Johnson is probably going to be your two going into next year. You just have to hope that if this is what you do with Petrino, that Petrino comes in here and does a good job. I mean, it all just boils down to how much control does he truly have over this offense.
That's the question.
My thing is, can they coexist together?
I think they can coexist together because Bobby Petrino is trying to.
Because Jimbo's going to have to, like you said,
relinquish control,
to back up and be the head coach. For that thing to work, to even have a chance to work, he's got to give Bobby full control over the offense and say, "Hey, you've done it better than I have," because he has.
Fairness, offensive play calling, he has.
He's had guys. He can get guys. He can recruit guys. I remember the years at Arkansas where he had, some really good receivers, Joe Adams, Jarius Wright, some of those guys, they were playmakers, man. And he had that offense clicking. He had Niles Davis, some of these guys at running back, and they got it going. So the two things, is Jimbo going to trust him enough? Are they going to work out a deal where that's the only way Bobby's going to come?
Yes.
He said, "Hey, I get total control over the offense. That's our understanding from day one. And, can it work? Sure. At this point, it's worth a try, but we all also know Jimbo and his stubborn ways. Could it,
that's my question. Could Jimbo help himself?
I think they both could help each other. And I think we said this off. They could both really do wonders for each other's career.
No doubt. And that's why this is so strange, guys, because Booker, you're 100% right. Like, we have half the chat being like, hey, this would work. Half the chat being like, absolutely not. And that's what's so intriguing about this. You're both right. You are both absolutely right. Booker, for your point, love this right here. Petrino will definitely have control or he won't take the job. And I have no doubt that that'd be a stipulation. My question is, can Jimbo help himself? And in fairness, Triple D says there's not a rope long enough for that tug of war contest, which, let's be honest, like, that's logical as well. So that's why this is so interesting. Anybody out there, they know Petrino knows offense, right? Petrino knows offense. So it is an interesting hire. Absolutely one we have to watch. Now, guys, if we're talking about coaching hires, how can we go anywhere else than this right here? Deion Sanders, Colorado, and what a staff he is assembling. Offensive coordinator, Sean Lewis, Kent State head coach. Quick rundown on him. 2021 had the number 3 rushing offense in the nation to go along with a top 15 total offense. His passing attack, wide open. You're not going to get a moment to breathe.
Ty, how the hell did that even happen? I remember when that flashed on Fox ESPN, I was just like, why the hell would he even? I was like, why would he do that? He was going to, I know the money.
People don't get this higher.
His career
he got another job as a head coach, probably at a higher school. I mean, I'm surprised that he didn't even get the Georgia Tech job. I was like, this would be perfect.
I don't think people realize what a big hire this is. Guys, y'all think I'm understating this? I'm not.
Coordinator too.
Defensive coordinator Charles Kelly. Now, Charles Kelly has a bit more of a contentious history as defensive coordinator than does Sean Lewis, but here's what I will say. The guy can recruit. Oh my goodness. And he's a brilliant coach. The guy can recruit. And one thing y'all need to know about Jackson State's defense, I didn't realize this. Do y'all know who the number 1 and number 2 FBS scoring defenses in the nation were this past season? It was Indiana at number 1, and it was Georgia at number 2. Indiana had allowed an average of 12.23 points per game. Georgia, 12.77. Prime and JSU allowed 11.23. So they would have had the number one scoring defense. So he already knows what a great defense looks like. Now you give him Sean Lewis as offensive coordinator. You give him Charles Kelly as defensive coordinator. And then picture this. You walk into a living room and it's Coach Prime and Charles Kelly. They say, hey, I'm Deion Sanders. That's enough. That's all I have to say. Google me. And that's Charles Kelly. He was just with Nick Saban, coaching with Nick Saban in the secondary. That doesn't excite you? That excites anybody with a pulse. That excites anybody
just
with
the Deion
a
Sanders
pulse.
factor would get me, and Hey,
Boom,
another
Hooker.
thing too.
Boom.
Speaking of Nick Saban, there was a 918 sighting of him yesterday. He was here to see two guys. Cole Adams, obviously enough, was there, but also another visit that everybody was like, he went to see Luke Haas in Bixby yesterday. So
we need the tight end help.
Yep. So that was another one that people were like, oh, really? So he's trying to flip him from Arkansas to Bama. So I forgot to add that in the Alabama notes earlier, but I was talking to somebody via text just a minute ago on that. So,
and Triple D, I'm glad you said this because
yes,
I got the figures right here in front of me. And this is as of this morning per Colorado Buffs football Twitter. 1,410 season ticket deposits already. 2,000 plus season ticket form interest and 6,000 season tickets in the pipeline. It hasn't been a week yet. Guys, doubt Coach Prime all you want. This is tangible.
Yep.
You can pretend like this isn't going to happen, but it's here.
Well, it's like we said a couple days ago. There's going to be a huge positive ripple effect right away. And we're already seeing it with recruits. There you showed the numbers. People are excited about Prime in Boulder. Like it or not.
Connor Johnson has a great point. Boulder's beautiful. They have great facilities. Earlier on, I saw a lot of people. I would go up right now, but it'd be a while, and I don't want to be distracted. Y'all were talking about whether or not they were going to go Under Armour or Nike. I think they're going to go Nike. Let's be honest, guys. Nike's going to see this opportunity in front of them, and Under Armour's just not going to be able to
everybody's like, well, Deion's an Under Armour guy. Well, let's backtrack. He was a Nike guy way before he got that marketing thing going before he took Bo Jackson's thing and ran with it. So whatever it does to bring more positivity and stuff like that to Colorado, he's going to do it. And it's probably going to be Phil Knight saying, Deion, whatever you need there in Boulder, you got it.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, one of the sponsorship deals I'm trying to work out with the channel right now is a college football clothing sponsorship. And I can bet your bottom dollar they're seeing a massive uptick in sales from Deion. I had someone comment on a video I made today, and I loved the comment. They said, how big of an effect is Deion Sanders going to have? I'm here watching your podcast. I'm not a Colorado fan. I'm not an SEC fan. I've never seen your podcast. I know about Deion, though. And they said, I'm just a super casual college football fan. But this has intrigued me. Yeah, that's what Deion does.
Hank, that's a great point as well. Add the TV in there.
Yep.
Huge. Colorado's going to get some games that they otherwise wouldn't get next year for the simple fact that everybody wants to see Deion and they want to see what his team is going to do. So you may see a game right out of the gate and their schedule, let's be honest, is no easy.
No, they open up right against TCU.
So that's going to be on the prime spot right away. So you're going to see Colorado right away.
Look, worry is a strong word, right? If you're a blue chip organization, you don't worry about anybody, but you are damn sure aware of what they're doing. Every institution in the nation is damn sure aware of what they're doing. That's the truth. You're not ignoring them.
It's funny because now Lincoln, especially over there on the west side, he can't just be the prize dog by himself now. Now you gotta more of a household name than Lincoln over there now.
Man, that's going to be such a fun game next year.
Man.
Do they play next year?
I don't know if they play next year.
That will be, man, we might have to make make a trip. If it's in Colorado, I might go to that one.
Aaron says everybody has to worry about Colorado. Everyone has to. So yeah, y'all are saying everybody does. The way I look about it is you have to be aware of them. You know what I mean? Like there's, and I think we're probably using the same word, just different synonyms, right? I'm just looking at this different, but I look, y'all aren't wrong. Y'all absolutely aren't wrong. Ryan, you say the interest in college football as a result of Coach Prime is in historical context. We're seeing a semifinal moment in college sports history, if not sports history, food for thought. Just look at the impressions. Guys, you want to know why this is so big right now? There's a multitude of factors, but one thing that people aren't talking about is the digital age we live in. We live in a digital age where the way media is conducted, the way media is digested is completely flipped on its head. And guess who knows how to navigate that better than anybody? Prime.
So Colorado played at USC last year. So if they play next year, it'll be at Colorado. So, boys, we may have to make a trip to Boulder.
Hey,
wearing our Colorado Buffaloes stuff.
I'll put it like this. If anybody from 24/7 Sports is listening, if y'all need some new college football podcasts, you can hit me up and I'll go to all the games for y'all. I'll be your tribute.
I'll tote Ty's bags for him. We'll make sure everything gets set up. So,
yeah, I mean, guys, this is for real. And we've talked about offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Do y'all know who I peeped was on this staff today? Do y'all know who Nick Williams is? Guys, they got Nick Williams on this staff as defensive line coach. That's terrifying. Nick Williams played for Georgia, was a GA assistant at Georgia, was used as an ace recruiter at Georgia. When he went from Georgia to Texas A&M, that's when those 2 5-stars, Smoke Bowie and the other one, flipped from Georgia to A&M. Now he's at Colorado.
Yeah, that's right.
What?
I will supply you guys with all the Woodford Reserve you need. Hey, let's go. Man.
Well, hey,
we got it taken care of.
We got a whole crew now.
Yeah, let's go.
Nothing stopping us.
I'll make sure Drew has beer. Hey, Matt. Baker Mayfield, no. Besides that, I'll take the beer. Anything else in that?
Hey, I mean, just lightly speaking about Baker, though, what a game. What a performance last night for him. You got to love it. Guys, if you love sports, no matter how you feel about him, one of the beautiful things about sports is we get to see triumph for the individual, no matter the circumstance. And that's what happened.
I mean, 98 yards, right? That's crazy in itself. Yeah. And it was a beautiful ball that he threw to get that game-winning touchdown.
Van Jefferson, I don't even think they were introduced yet. And he's like, here, man. There you go. Yeah, great for him. That's awesome. Hopefully it continues for him and it springboards him and potentially a career-saving move for Baker for sure.
Look at me. I don't think that's going to happen.
His buyouts are crazy though on that contract. Have y'all seen that?
Deion's?
Yeah, it goes up each year. Like it's a lot of money that we're talking about. Like as far as what he would have, like as far as a buyout and what he would have to pay to get out of the contract.
And A&M couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford paying out Jimbo and paying out Deion. It's a lot of money right there.
That'd be very, very interesting. Now, Donald, you made a comment earlier. I meant to leave it up here, but the comments started going because I was going to let it breathe.
Hey,
I was just going to let it sit
the Horns Down podcast on here. How dare you?
We're going to let that breathe for a little bit. But you made a comment about there's ticket sales at Jackson State.
Okay. I was about to say, hey. I was just gonna get on this guy right here, Don Robinson. Two things I'm so ready for. I'm ready for Texas fans to be like, "Oh, we told you so. You guys are la 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 6-6, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, you guys really didn't. You guys are like what 1 or 2 games better. That may be good for y'all, but that's still a terrible year for us. So you guys are still trending that direction." And 2, what is life going to be like without B. John Robinson? Because as good as Jaden Blue, Ford or Brooks, Ford or whoever the running backs that you guys have back there, this Baxter kid, are they Bijan? Are they? Because Ty, what I'm
Bijan's
saying,
next level. Yeah.
Because what I'm saying is that these kids may be really good, but are they Bijan good to where all the when Bijan's in the backfield getting hit and then he bounces off of that guy and goes for another 15, 20 yards?
We're going to see.
I mean, that's the whole thing. We'll have to see, but I mean, that's the type of good that we're saying. Yeah.
So here's one thing, man. Y'all got to remember, I went on a little bit of a crusade against Pro Football Focus a year ago because they left Bijan off the top 50 players of college football.
Yeah.
They said he is not a top. Not only that, Drew, I saw you look up with that. They left Will Anderson off the top 50 players of college football list. And at that point, I was on an absolute warpath. I mean, I think I went a week straight just hammering the point home. Bijan is incredible. But that Texas running back, now, point taken, Chris. What I'm about to say, you're 100% right. There is not another Bijan because Bijan, let's be very honest, everybody here. He's special.
Yeah.
He is a special talent. Here's what I will say. That's a very talented room. And Cedric Baxter is a dude, certified 5-star. Love his game. Love Brooks. So yeah, I'm interested to see. Pat says y'all wrong on Nike for Colorado. Prime's YouTube channel was a video where, so I saw that, Pat, but I was under the impression that there was still a little bit of negotiations and there was still some wiggle room for Nike to get back into it. However, if I am wrong, I'll take that one.
Yeah, certainly.
Good looking out.
At the end of the day, it's money talks for sure.
Yeah, I could be wrong on that, Pat. Good looking out. But for some reason, I thought I had read that there was a path for Nike to get back into this. And my perception of this, Pat, is simple. I just think Nike has bigger paychecks. And if NIL is the name of the game, well, that kind of goes back for Nike because I think they have a greater perception amongst the athletes.
Triple D said that was for Jackson State only. So I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's where.
Yeah. Maybe we have to do our research. I'm not up on it as well either. So
he says he's in Boulder and it was a part of the deal to get him there. Okay. Well, yeah, I'd have to.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go read on that. Obviously, I'm not up all in the brand licensing and contracts and all that for those guys. So either way, good things for Colorado ahead. So.
Yeah. So yeah, we have people kind of debating back and forth the history of that. So Pat, good looking out though, because I do need to go back and check that out. So I really do appreciate that. He's yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair point. Golden, I'm not going to put that up, but if you're going to diss someone, I'd probably know how to spell their name. That would typically be a good place to start. But yeah, suffice to say, guys, Colorado is booming. 5 stars already interested. Former 5 stars. Trey Sanders interested in going there. We saw Notre Dame running back Dylan Edwards.
Yeah. Travis Hunter's probably going to go.
I am going to go ahead and say he is going to go. Here's why. He did a live stream where he was saying, "I'm coming, coach." So still a possibility. Triple D says, "You are right. I have okay." So, all right, cool. Good looking out then, Pat. Awesome.
Cool.
Triple D, what kind of law do you practice, man? I'm interested. I'd be super interested. I'd be very interested to talk to any of those guys with Under Armour just to kind of learn about the back end of sports business. That's super interesting. Under Armour guy, Phil Knight. Texas is back. It was a season.
Texas is back.
So we have, where's Tony Grimes going? Matt, that's a great question. 5-star cornerback, early enrolled to North Carolina, has had an up and down time. Talented as can be. I mean, talent is evident. But it's going to be very interesting to see. He says commercial law. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Chris, what kind of law do you practice?
I am it's crazy. I'm a divorce attorney. So I do family law. And then I do some civil stuff on the side as well. So a lot of
I was getting ready to make a joke and say divorce attorney, but turns out jokes on me.
I was looking at appellate because I wanted to do constitutional stuff or intellectual property.
That sounds like you.
More sophisticated.
Yeah, I loved constitutional law. I was very much well into like voting rights advocacy, stuff like that. I mean that,
Cool.
and then IP, but that's because that's a huge industry. But kind of focusing back on football here. Some transfer portal news that y'all need to be aware of. Look, first and foremost, if you need a quarterback, go find him. Brennan Armstrong, Leary. I mean, there are some dudes in the portal. I'm going to pass it to y'all. Who's your number one quarterback in the transfer portal?
Ooh.
I'll be on. Oh, go ahead, Drew.
No, I'm just saying. I'm gonna think it through that a little bit.
That's true, but I would. You know what? I'm gonna go with Slovis.
Oh
no.
Good one though.
I take that back. I think. I know everybody's hype on Leary. Okay, Ty, this is gonna be one from way West Coast right here. I'm about to throw a curveball at you. Jeff Sims from Georgia Tech.
Love it. I love it.
I saw enough from him in that Clemson game, and I kept tabs on him throughout the season. I said, not only is he mobile, but he's a willing passer. I was like, if he could get probably with a better quarterback coach, I guess, if I'm just nitpicking, I was like, and somebody could help him kind of calm down and pick his spots better. Because early in that Clemson game, if you go back and watch, they gave them a lot of problems. Whenever he was actually able to connect with those wide receivers, he missed on some outs and different things like that. And it was just one of those things where just kind of needed to calm down a little bit. But Jeff Sims is a guy that, to be honest with you, I'll tell you what school would be perfect for him: Kentucky. Kentucky would be a really good school for them because he gives him a dual threat, and he's a guy that if you can refine, if you could just smooth out, make his mechanics smoother. He's a guy that has a high ceiling. So Jeff Sims would be the guy that I would look at, and he's a guy that I would love to have at OU. To be quite frank with you, like Gabriel, but at the same time, I think Jeff Sims, possibly you're having the same problem that you had with Gabriel with some of the overthrows and miscues, different things like that. But the fact that he can hurt you with his legs is what really was missing from this offense this year. So yeah, Jeff Sims.
Now, guys, before you go, I want to rephrase this because some people are saying Deion Sanders currently available in the transfer portal. Let me rephrase that. Currently available.
Colorado getting him. So
yeah, that's a pipe
not
dream
even. He's in the transfer portal, but he's not in the transfer portal.
Yeah, Drew, who's your number one guy?
Number one, I'm gonna give you one that's a pretty good one. Obviously, I'm close with the Evers and everything like that. Would love to see him. He's gonna end up at a good spot, but a name to watch: Malik Hornsby from Arkansas. Elite speed. He can throw the ball a little bit. He's gotten bigger, things like that. He's going to be a good one. And then obviously another intriguing one, just because I think he may stay in the Big 12, Spencer Sanders.
Man, I think Spencer Sanders are going to Auburn, to be quite frank with you.
And then there's another guy there, Calzada. It'd be interesting to see where he goes as well.
Boy, stop. He's a one-hit wonder.
You never know. But Malik Hornsby is my number one.
Where was Zach Calzada this year?
Auburn.
It's back, baby.
I knew it was coming.
It's back, baby.
Where's the damn Texas?
Hey, hold on.
Where's the damn Texas Tech flag or the damn Texas flag? I'm gonna. But if this thing was remote, I'd turn it orange.
Yeah.
God. So I'm gonna give you my number one quarterback because a lot of people aren't talking about him because he had a bit of a down year. And I'm not gonna say he's the best quarterback available. I think he's the most intriguing. Brennan Armstrong had a bad year this year. Bad year. But guys, in 2021, 65% completion percentage, 4,400 yards. The guy can throw. He has got a ton of ability with his arm. He's a name to watch. Now, if you're asking me, hey, who do you think is maybe one of the best available? I like Leary a lot. He's going to be one to watch. I think a lot of teams are going to be going after him. Wouldn't it go full circle if he ends up at Wisconsin? The next great NC State quarterback to go from NC State to Wisconsin? That'd just be the profit.
Obviously, DJU is the name. I mean, is obvious up there.
Yes.
But another guy too, Hudson Card, could potentially land at a good spot. He could find himself in a good situation.
Hudson Card is getting basically the equivalent of a 4-star rating in his transfer portal.
Yep.
Hudson Card is a guy that, given a chance, I think can do some work. He kind of reminds me, and this is where I'm at with it. Okay, I know a lot of people are really gun ho about or high strong about the Leary kid, but NC State they showed flashes, but did we ever really take them super seriously? No, I mean, I don't think we did, but I just think that he's kind of a quarterback of like that caliber where he has the potential to get the job done, but I don't think he consistently puts you at that much of.
He's got to have a lot of things around him to help.
A lot of things around him. Yeah. Him going to Notre Dame would make some sense, but is he going to make that offense that much better?
Yep. A guy leaving Notre Dame too, Drew Pine, will be interesting to see where he ends up as well.
I think I think DJ, if he went to a school like Notre Dame, I think that would fit him. And I think what they would want to do with him, especially in short yardage and different things like that, they would want to actually use him to his strengths. I think for a guy like DJ, and I'm no quarterback coach, no schemer, none of that, but I would just say I think you got to make the game a little bit more concise. Look at what Lincoln did with Jalen Hurts. He opened up the playbook just enough for Jalen Hurts to really excel and show his skill, show his talent.
Good point.
But whenever Jalen Hurts started fumbling, started having issues with turning the ball over and just some decision making, he had to make the game plan a lot more concise. And that was one of the problems we had. It was like, man, it's a one-man show. Jalen's running everything, but you kind of had to do that to get the best out of Jalen to get him
great comparison right there. I like that a lot.
Now, Connor Johnson says, keep your eyes out for Sam Heward's name. 5-star quarterback, a former 5-star quarterback. If I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, went to Washington. Right, Connor? I believe so. Very talented player. He'd be very interesting.
Needless to say, there's a lot of quarterbacks looking for homes right now.
Ton of quarterbacks. Now, outside of quarterbacks, guys, I want to hear from everybody in chat. I want to hear from both of you. Biggest available name in the transfer portal.
Biggest available name right now. Man, Grimes is a kid that pokes out like a sore thumb. I mean, he may be like tops. It could be like tops as far as what you're wanting to take your secondary to that next level. Man,
I would say probably Denver Harris is up there.
Denver Harris is a kid too.
Yeah, is up there. Good corner. He could end up at a solid place.
When we saw him play, he was very good.
Yeah.
Justin
Flo, yeah, he's going to end up helping somebody extremely for their defense. And then we already talked about him, but you know how big McCullum is for, coming from Indiana. He's another big physical guy that can run. But a lot of these defensive guys, I think, are even more important than a lot of these offensive guys. To get a corner with some experience, to get a linebacker with some experience like that, and some D-line talent would be huge for guys that are needing defense.
How about this? Tie it like this one. Trayshawn Holden.
Boy, I have got a story to tell y'all there, which we'll save that one for later. But Frank says Trey Sanders. Guys, there might be a cooler story. I don't think there's a cooler story in football than Trey Sanders. Former 5-star recruit coming out of IMG, had the world in front of him. When he gets to Alabama, breaks a bone in his foot. Now, for those of you familiar, if you break a bone in your foot, that is not an easy injury to come back from, let alone as a running back where you have got to cut. That put him out his entire freshman year. His sophomore year, gets in a car crash that a lot of people don't realize nearly took his life. Like, football was an afterthought for a while. And he pulled through. Trey Sanders is the story of determination. Trey Sanders is the story of perseverance. And because of that, wherever he goes, my only stipulation is that they allow him to showcase his talents, because nothing in the world would make me happier than for us to be sitting here a year from now and talking about how Trey Sanders was one of the success stories in the transfer portal, that he went somewhere and that was used incredibly. Nothing would make me happier than if we got here this time next year and people were asking, how come Trey Sanders didn't get used more at Bama? Because he's had such a rough go of it. And I mean, he's worked so hard. I want nothing but the best for him. So yes, Frank, I will be watching the Trey Sanders move closer than anybody else.
Yeah. He's kind of got a, with minus the injuries, but a Josh Jacobs type of story.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, you know. But yeah, he's a great one. Hopefully he's able to overcome that and land at a great spot and have a good, successful season next year. That'd be awesome.
Crunch, this is difficult because
it's a good question, though.
It is a good question, because I think we could argue a lot of players wouldn't be overrated in a certain scheme, right? But that being said, who's someone who's just like a super, super hot player that, you know, it's a good story, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong, man. You're certainly right. There's a lot of great players in the portal.
Overrated? I'm going to go with JT Daniels.
You know what? That's my answer.
Former 5-star. This will be his 4th school, I think.
I mean, I just, you know.
That's my answer.
During the OU game, even though I felt so much pain, I remember talking to my uncle, and I was like, man, it's like, damn, he's going to have to transfer again. We were just laughing about it, and then to see his name report, I was like, God.
One of those highly recruited guys that we were talking about coming out of high school with very high hopes, and yeah.
You know what? He needs to go to hear me out. He needs to go to a smaller school. I'm not talking about FCS or anything like that. He needs to go to a smaller school where he's going to be the guy, like a Wyoming, someplace where he can just sneak out there, have a really good year, and go get drafted. He needs to stop just playing around.
There could be a perfect spot for him in a good offense with a good head coach that knows what he's doing. Kevin Wilson, Tulsa.
That would be a really good spot for him.
Yep.
Love that.
That could be huge.
That could be a huge
Tanner Mordecai type of situation for him. You know, could go in that type of offense, air it out, throw for a ton of yards, get some confidence back, and really, end up in a good situation. So, I mean, if Tulsa's not looking at him as a first-year quarterback for Kevin Wilson in that scheme and the way he does it, the tempo that he uses, they'd be crazy not to go get somebody like that.
Yeah, there's so many good players in the portal. Guys, college football is absolutely wild right now. If you think this Deion stuff is just hype, you're kidding yourself. It's here. It's tangible. Yeah. He's coming.
He's going to have some good, clean water at Colorado. So,
and do you know what's so wild? And I'm not going to pretend to understand the intricacies of HBCU culture, but like, him making this move has gotten a lot of pushback, and there are issues in Jackson, Mississippi, like the lack of access to clean water, that I'm like, hey, maybe that's like the biggest talking point. We as a society and as a country should just put our foot down and say, there's nowhere in the United States that should not have access to clean water. We're the best country in the world.
Yep.
If we hold ourselves out to be that, there's no place in this country that should not have access to clean water.
Yeah.
That's going to send me on a tirade.
I agree. There should be enough resources and things available for people, yet we still have a homeless problem in the United States. And I know we're talking college football, but yeah, you could get me off on a quick tangent on some of the stuff that's underlining issues that should be at the forefront of some of our politicians' minds, that it's just not there, and it's unfair to a lot of people that, you know.
And the homelessness is a vicious cycle. You can't get out of homelessness because you can't get a job. You go to apply for a job. Where do you live? Where do you live?
Yep.
That's one of the first things on your job resume. So it's an absolute vicious cycle. If I won the lottery tomorrow, that'd probably be something I'd try and do. Is a nonprofit trying to find housing.
Another cause that I have too is helping our veterans that return home. You know,
very close with a man who does a ton of work for wounded veterans, actually works somewhat with the Wounded Warriors Project, was actually one of the first sponsorships ESPN got. He and I got to go out with some veterans to some land in Gainesville and go shooting some guns. Some
fun fact. Folds of Honor is in Tulsa. Great organization. Actually, Travis Davidson, his sister, works for Folds of Honor. And they're amazing, great people. Organizations like that is what I'm here for, to help, you know, just resources like that, whether we're talking about, you know, clean water, homeless, you know, people like that. We need to find more organizations like that that are going to, you know, help, just help people, helping people loving people is what it's about, you know?
Yeah. So, Matt, if you have a Twitter, DM me. I'd love to learn more about that and see any way that, like.
Anyway, sorry about.
But no. By all means, look, we're not getting political. This is human issues. This isn't politics. This is human issues, and we're all humans in here talking. And that's the beauty of this, right? That's the beauty of this. As a little aside, as we're winding down,
football for you. If we didn't have these problems here, guys, Texas A&M wouldn't be able to get good recruits for the most part.
Facts. That's why Chris is here.
Money wasn't really the big issue or whatnot. And some of these kids, they really are trying to help their families get out of tough situations.
Well, and I think that's why NIL is great for college football.
Yeah, it needs some work.
A lot of these kids are doing just the same thing you're talking about. They're trying to get their families out of situations and things like that. And it's beyond, at the end of the day, things are beyond the game of football. And I think for some of these kids, they have a lot of pressure on themselves at a young age to try to take care of their families and make it to the league. Now they've got a little less pressure, and they're able to make some money in college. So that's a great point.
Madsen, we'll come back to this a little bit later. And the only reason I'll say a little bit later is I don't know what their team is going to look like right now. Right. True. And so it's real, like, it's a fantastic question. Yep. I actually am going to write it down because I'll do a deep dive into who they're going to play. I'll watch it all.
Once you get to like spring, all that summer, that'll be a question that you could really dive into once you kind of know with anybody really, now that, you know, with the way the transfer portal, how recruiting ends up, where you start seeing rosters in the spring look like. But yeah, that's a great question.
Great question. Matt, be sure to reach out to me on Twitter, man. I'd be really interested in seeing more about that. But as we're winding down here, one thing I do want to say is I want to thank everybody here this evening for tuning in, for showing support. We just, as a channel, passed 15,000 subscribers today, actually. And we haven't even been doing this as a YouTube channel for 2 years. So that means the world. Thank you all for the support. It's allowed me to do something that I did not know would be a possibility, and make it a possibility that this could be an avenue that I could actually make a career. And hopefully that'll be the case. So thank you all so much. It really does mean the world. It really, and thank you, Drew, Chris, for y'all being a part of it. I mean, anytime I want to have y'all on the stream, y'all are always here. So it's awesome.
We didn't bail on you for a Luke Combs concert. So.
Yeah, like PG.
Come on,
PG.
Man. Luke
Golden.
Combs.
I do completely agree with this. The amount of mental health facilities we've closed as a country, it's wild. Triple D, you're right. Fentrell Cypress was almost the name I said is the best player available.
Great one. I forgot about that one.
Dude, absolute dude. Before we get out of here, Drew, Chris, let the people know where they can find all your great content.
We are, me and my buddy Zach Merrill, we do the Under Official Review podcast. We do episodes once or twice a week. We took the week off this week. Actually, we were going to do a show, decided not to. We'll be back next week doing that. But we talk college football across the board, a lot like Ty does at Around the Table. sports, everything like that. We have these guys on all the time talking topics just like this. You can hit us up on our YouTube channel at the Under Official Review Podcast, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Please, we're a growing channel. We only have like 15 subscribers. We're trying to grow. We're trying to build our thing. So please hit on over, drop us a like, comment, all that stuff. And yeah, we're just growing, having fun, and love talking college football. So
no, for sure. Make sure y'all follow Drew and all them. Drew has a lot of information, a lot more information than some people have, for sure.
No doubt.
So I definitely follow him, because if you do, you'll get gems. So
yeah, for sure. Chris, where can they find your stuff on the days you're not talking about Auburn?
So y'all can find me at the Horns Down Pod on Twitter. Also, you can find me at Chris with a K, Google Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that. Find us on YouTube, the Horns Down Podcast, where Texas sucks always, every day. Horns down.
Yeah.
Caravan, thank you for tuning in. Guys, we stream every week, Mondays 5:30, Fridays 5:30. That's what we like to do. There's some major changes coming to the channel. We'll talk about that more at a later date, but it's just really humbling to have you all in here. Thank you for spending your evening with us. With that being said, we'll see you next time.
Oh, hey, have you heard anything?
About what? I've heard a lot of things.
Let me see. When is this Corey Foreman? Because PG keeps talking about that. Have you heard anything about that, about him